Have you ever felt it? A strange and subtle feeling that the life you are living is not entirely your own. It's a beautiful life, perhaps, a successful life, a life that ticks all the right boxes, but it feels like you are wearing a perfectly tailored suit that belongs to someone else. It looks good on you, everyone compliments you on it, but it's just a little too tight in the shoulders, a little hard to breathe in. This is the quiet suffocation of a life lived according to expectations. It's the silent pressure from your family's dreams for you, the invisible script written by society that tells you what success should look like. And perhaps the heaviest expectation of all, the one from your own inner critic, demanding that you be perfect, be responsible, be someone else. You can live your entire life inside this invisible prison, believing its walls are the edges of the world. But at some point, the soul begins to protest. It starts to pull at the bars. It whispers that there is something more, a life that is not just successful, but resonant, a life that is not just good, but true. The journey to find that life, to break free from that invisible prison, is what the great psychologist Carl Jung called individuation. He saw it as the most important work a human being can do, the work of becoming the author of your own story, instead of merely an actor in someone else's. It is the core purpose of shadow work. Today, we will not just talk about this freedom. We will give you the blueprint for the escape. We will expose the walls of the prison you may not even know you are in. And we will take the first crucial step toward reclaiming the only life that will ever truly fit you, your own.
The first step to escaping any prison is to realize you are in one. And the prison of expectations is the most sophisticated prison ever designed because its walls are completely invisible. They are built not of stone and steel, but of beliefs, of unspoken rules, of love and of duty. This is what makes it so hard to see and even harder to leave. This prison has 3 primary walls, each reinforcing the others, creating a cage around your authentic self. The first wall is built by familial expectations. This is the very first script we are handed. It is written in the ink of our parents' hopes, their dreams, and often their own unlived lives. You should be a doctor because I never had the chance. You should get married and have children because that's what will make us happy. You shouldn't be an artist. It's not a stable career. These messages are rarely delivered with malicious intent. They are often expressions of love and a desire for our safety. But they can become a golden cage. We internalize these scripts so deeply that we begin to mistake our parents' dreams for our own. Let's think about a man named Daniel, a successful accountant in his late 30s. He is good at his job. He makes a good living, but he feels a quiet, persistent emptiness. As a boy, he loved building things with his hands. He dreamed of being a carpenter, a craftsman. But his father, a man who valued security above all else, always said, "That's a nice hobby, son, but you need a real profession." So Daniel followed the script. He went to business school. He became an accountant. He built a life that made his father proud. He constructed a strong wall of responsibility around himself. But what happened to the carpenter? What happened to the boy who found joy in the smell of sawdust and the feel of wood? That part of him, the part that didn't fit the family script, had to be exiled. It was pushed down, into the shadow. Daniel's emptiness is the silent ache of his own unlived life, a life sacrificed to fulfill an expectation. The second wall of the prison is built by societal expectations. This is the collective script, the powerful current of the culture we live in. It dictates what a good life is supposed to look like. It gives us a narrow, pre-approved menu of acceptable choices. The societal script tells us to climb the corporate ladder, to accumulate wealth, to value productivity over rest. It tells us what kind of body we should have, what kind of partner we should choose, what our timeline for success should be. We are bombarded with this script every single day, through advertising, through social media, through the stories we are told. And if our own authentic desires, our own unique rhythm, don't fit into this script, we are made to feel that there is something wrong with us. The woman who has no desire for children is made to feel deficient. The man who values a simple, quiet life over a high-powered career is made to feel lazy or unambitious. The person who takes a non-linear, exploratory path through life is seen as lost or indecisive. To avoid this judgment, we conform. We try to force our beautifully unique, crooked souls into the straight, narrow boxes of societal approval. And every part of us that doesn't fit, our quiet nature, our artistic soul, our need for a slower pace, gets exiled down into the shadow. This brings us to the third and most powerful wall of the prison, the one that keeps us locked in, even when the outer gates are open. This is the wall of internalized expectations. This is the point where the outer voices of family and society become our own inner voice. The script is no longer handed to us. It is running on a loop inside our own minds. This is the voice of the harsh inner critic. It is the part of you that tells you you should be doing more, you should be better. It is the part that judges your need for rest as laziness. It is the part that calls your authentic desires selfish or irresponsible. This inner critic is the warden of your invisible prison. Its primary job is to ensure that you never, ever deviate from the script. It uses guilt and shame as its weapons, policing your thoughts and actions to keep you in line with the collective. This is the most insidious part of the trap. You may have physically left your family home. You may consciously disagree with societal pressures, but the warden has moved inside. You have become your own jailer. This is the complex architecture of the prison you may be living in. A prison built of your parents' love, society's values, and your own internalized fear. And at the center of this prison is your true self, the authentic, vibrant core of who you are. And surrounding that self, growing larger and darker with every exiled part, is your shadow. The feeling of being trapped is the tension between the soul's deep yearning for freedom and the immense threefold pressure of the prison walls. It is the exhaustion of living a life that is not your own. And the first step to freedom is to simply see the walls, to acknowledge the script, to realize, perhaps for the first time, that the life you are living may be a very good life. But it is not your story.
It is not your story. This realization is the key that unlocks the prison door. It is the moment you wake up inside the dream and understand that you are not just a character. You have the power to become the author. But this awakening can be terrifying. If this life, this identity, this script is not mine, then who am I? And where do I go from here? This is where we turn to the profound wisdom of Carl Jung. He offered us a map for this very journey. He called it the process of individuation. Individuation is perhaps the most important concept in all of Jungian psychology. It is the lifelong, natural process of becoming a distinct, whole, and individual being. It is the journey of separating from the collective consciousness and discovering and fulfilling one's own unique purpose. Jung did not see this as a selfish act.
He saw it as a moral and spiritual responsibility. He believed that the greatest contribution a person can make to the world is to become fully and authentically themselves. A society of whole individuals is a healthy society. A society of fragmented actors is a sick one. So how does this journey begin? It begins with what we might call the call to adventure. This call often comes in the form of suffering. It is the quiet emptiness you feel, the chronic resentment, the feeling of being trapped. This suffering is not a punishment. It is a summons. It is your soul, your true self, ringing a loud, persistent alarm bell, telling you that the life you are living is no longer sustainable. It is a call to leave the ordinary world of the collective script. Many of us ignore this call for years. We numb the pain with busyness, with distractions, with addictions. It feels safer to stay in the familiar prison than to face the unknown wilderness. But for those who are ready to listen, the journey begins. The first stage of this journey often involves a confrontation with the shadow. As we've discussed in this series, this means turning towards the parts of yourself that were exiled because they didn't fit the script. For Daniel, our accountant, who dreamed of being a carpenter, his shadow work would involve acknowledging that exiled craftsman. It would mean allowing himself to feel the grief for the life not lived. It might mean taking a simple first step, like buying a set of woodworking tools or taking a weekend class. He is not being asked to quit his job and abandon his family. He is being asked to simply make a small space in his life for this forgotten part of his soul. He is beginning to integrate his shadow. As you do this work, as you start to reclaim these lost parts of yourself, you begin to build a new center of gravity. Your sense of self starts to shift. It moves away from being defined by the external roles you play, the good son, the successful professional, and starts to become anchored in your own internal experience. This leads to the next crucial phase of individuation, differentiating from the collective. This is where you learn to distinguish your own voice from the voices of others. You begin to question the scripts you were handed. Is this my dream or my father's dream? Is this my definition of success or society's definition? Is this my own inner wisdom, or is it just the voice of my inner critic repeating what I was always told? This is a process of untangling. It requires immense honesty and courage. You are essentially fact-checking the very foundations of your identity. It is here that you learn the crucial difference between adolescent rebellion and adult individuation. Adolescent rebellion is a reactive process. It says, I will do the opposite of what you want just to prove I am different. It is still defined by the expectations of others, just in opposition to them. Adult individuation is a conscious, proactive process. It says, I will listen to all the voices, both internal and external. I will respect them, but ultimately, I will make my own choice based on the guidance of my own inner compass. This is not an act of rejection. It is an act of sovereignty. As you become more sovereign, you begin to live a life that is less about should and more about is. You are guided not by a rigid external blueprint, but by a fluent internal sense of what feels true and resonant. You might make choices that make no sense to the outside world. You might leave the safe job. You might end the perfect relationship. You might move to a new city for no logical reason other than your soul feels called to it. You are no longer following the map. You are creating the map as you walk. This is the freedom Carl Jung spoke of. It is not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences. It is the freedom to become who you were always meant to be. It is the freedom from the prison of living someone else's life. And it is a journey available to every single one of us, no matter how old we are or how long we have been following the script. It simply requires the courage to answer the call.
The courage to answer the call. This is where the journey of individuation moves from a beautiful theory into a lived, breathing reality. But it can feel overwhelming. How do you begin to untangle a lifetime of conditioning by burning the old script in a grand dramatic fire? You begin, as with all true shadow work, with a single, quiet act of awareness. I want to offer you a powerful yet gentle exercise to start this process. A way to begin seeing the invisible walls of your prison. Let's call it mapping the two scripts. Take out a piece of paper or open a new document. I want you to draw a line down the middle, creating two columns. On the left side, at the top, I want you to write the heading, "The Script I Was Given." Under this heading, I want you to list 3 to 5 of the most powerful expectations that have shaped your life. These are the shoulds that echo in your mind. Be brutally honest with yourself. This is a private excavation. Perhaps it's, I should have a prestigious and financially secure career. Perhaps it's, I should be the perfect, selfless mother who always puts her children first. Or, I should always be positive and never show weakness. Or, I should follow the religious or cultural traditions of my family without question. Take your time with this. These are the foundational pillars of the life you have built. Acknowledge their weight. Acknowledge the role they have played. Now, on the right side of the page, I want you to write the heading, "The Soul's Whisper." This side is about listening. It is about tuning in to the faint, often dismissed voice of your authentic self. For each expectation you wrote on the left, I want you to listen for the quiet, corresponding whisper from your soul on the right. This whisper is not a logical plan. It is a yearning, a desire, a truth from your shadow that has been exiled for not fitting the script. So next to, I should have a prestigious career, the soul's whisper might be, I just want to work with my hands and create something beautiful. Next to, I should be the perfect, selfless mother. The whisper might be, I desperately need time for my own art, my own joy, separate from my children. Next to, I should always be positive. The whisper might be, my sadness holds a deep wisdom, and I long to be able to express it without shame. Next to, I should follow tradition. The whisper might be, my spiritual path feels different, more personal, and I want to explore it. This simple act of writing these two scripts side by side is a profound act of differentiation. You are for the first time objectifying the prison. You are separating the collective script from your own soul's truth. You are seeing the walls. Just this awareness is revolutionary. Now, what do you do with this map? You do not need to immediately act on the soul's whisper. That would be overwhelming. The next step is simply to honor the whisper. Honoring it means you treat it as valid, as real, as a legitimate part of you, not as a childish fantasy or a selfish indulgence. So, the next piece of this practical shadow work is this.
choose one of the whispers from your right-hand column. Just one. And for 1 week, your only task is to give that whisper a tiny bit of space in your life. We are not talking about quitting your job or abandoning your family. We are talking about a micro-action, a symbolic gesture that tells your soul, I hear you. If the whisper is, I want to work with my hands, your micro-action might be to spend 30 minutes watching a YouTube video on pottery, or to go to a hardware store and just browse the tools. If the whisper is, I need time for my art, your micro-action might be to buy yourself a small, beautiful notebook and a new pen and place it on your bedside table. That's it. If the whisper is, my sadness holds a deep wisdom, your micro-action might be to allow yourself to listen to one sad song without immediately trying to change your mood. Do you see how gentle this is? You are not staging a prison break. You are quietly, patiently digging a tunnel with a teaspoon. Each micro-action is a spoonful of earth. Each time you honor a whisper, you are affirming your own reality over the collective script. You are strengthening your connection to your inner compass. You are building self-trust. This is the path of individuation that Carl Jung described. It is not a sudden, violent revolution. It is a slow, steady, and conscious evolution. It is the gradual process of withdrawing your psychic energy from the old script and reinvesting it in your own. As you do this, the walls of the prison do not dramatically explode, they simply begin to dissolve. The expectations of others start to lose their power over you because you are no longer deriving your sense of self from them. You are building a new foundation, a new home within yourself. You are moving from being a character in the play to the author of the next act. And you are the only one who can write it.
And so you pick up the pen. You begin to write a new story, not by erasing the old one, but by adding a new, more authentic chapter. We began this journey feeling trapped inside an invisible prison, a life built on the blueprints of others' expectations. We learned to see the walls of this prison, the scripts handed to us by family, society, and our own inner critic. We then discovered the map to our freedom, the profound path of individuation that Carl Jung laid out for us. It is not a path of selfish rebellion, but one of moral courage, the courage to become the person you were born to be. And finally, we learned that this epic journey does not start with a grand escape. It starts with a quiet conversation, a simple act of shadow work, listening to the whispers of your soul and honoring them with the smallest of actions. This is how you reclaim your life, not in a single dramatic leap, but one gentle, deliberate, and self-honoring step at a time. You are moving from being an object in the world shaped by external forces to becoming a subject, the creative force of your own existence. This is the ultimate freedom. But as you begin to walk this new path, a path guided by your soul rather than by shoulds, you will bump up against one of the most powerful and deeply ingrained expectations of our modern culture, the expectation to be constantly productive, to always be doing, to be on. You have given yourself permission to follow your soul's whispers, but what happens when that whisper says, rest? What happens when your deepest, most authentic need is to do nothing at all? For so many of us, this is where the inner critic, the warden of the old prison, screams the loudest. We can feel a profound, almost primal guilt for being still, Why do we struggle so much to rest, even when we are exhausted? Why does stillness feel like a sin? Understanding this guilt and learning to embrace the sacred act of rest is the next crucial chapter in your new story. It is the key to making this new freedom sustainable, and it is exactly what we will explore in our next video. I invite you to subscribe so you can continue this journey of writing your own script. For now, your work is to continue mapping your two realities. In the comments below, if you feel called to share, I invite you to name just one whisper from your soul that you heard this week. You don't have to say what you'll do about it. The simple act of giving it a voice in this space is a powerful act of honoring it. Let's fill this space with the quiet, beautiful music of our authentic selves. Remember, the old story is not your fault, but the new one is your masterpiece. Start writing.